Welcome to the deep dive. We're going to be tackling productivity today. We've got some fascinating excerpts from Laura Mae Martin's Uptime. This book helps you get things done, but also how to live a happy and balanced life.
And it's remarkable. Uptime kind of goes beyond the typical time management advice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it acknowledges that we have these, different energy levels throughout the day and encourages us to design our days intentionally to achieve more with, less stress.
I love that. So let's explore that concept of energy flows. Now, that might sound a little abstract,
Right.
but Martin really brings it down to earth.
Yeah.
She suggests we should think of our time as an energy bank account,
Mm-hmm.
and certain activities drain those energy points much faster than others.
Absolutely. Just like a financial budget, we need to be cognizant of how we're spending those precious energy points. Uptime encourages us to be strategic about when we do certain tasks instead of just packing our schedules.
So that's where power hours come in, right? Martin suggests we all have like a 2 to 3 hour window each day when our productivity and focus are at their peak.
Mm-hmm.
The trick is to figure out when those power hours are for you and schedule your most challenging tasks during that time.
Absolutely. And the flip side of that is reserving our off-peak hours for less demanding activities,
Yeah.
such as emails, errands, or those routine meetings.
So you're not wasting that peak energy on things that don't require as much
Right.
mental effort.
Exactly.
It's like trying to write a complex report when you're exhausted. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
Save those demanding tasks for when you're feeling sharp and energized
I agree.
during your power hours.
Yeah. And another thing that's really interesting about Martin's approach is the emphasis on downtime.
Okay.
She argues that rest and relaxation aren't just indulgences,
Right.
but they're actually crucial for creativity and generating new ideas.
She uses that analogy of a rubber band. You have to pull it back in order to launch it forward with maximum force.
Okay.
Taking breaks, getting enough sleep, disconnecting from technology, all of that is an investment in our long-term productivity.
Absolutely. And it ties in beautifully with the concept of mindfulness, too.
Okay.
Taking those moments to just breathe and be present and observe our thoughts and feelings can really make a huge difference in our focus and well-being.
How about starting each day with a U30 routine?
Oh, I love that idea.
So a 30-minute block that's dedicated to yourself
Yeah.
before the demands of work or family obligations kick in. That could involve meditating, reading, exercising, anything that helps you feel grounded.
It's so easy to get swept away in the chaos of our day, and we often neglect our well-being.
Yeah.
But incorporating those small acts of self-care can have a profound impact. So we've talked about energy flows, power hours, downtime. But how do we actually structure our days to maximize that uptime?
Well, Martin introduces this framework called the list funnel.
The list funnel is a fantastic system for organizing tasks. It begins with a main list, where we capture literally every single thing that we need to do, both personal and professional.
So brain dump everything that's in your head onto that main list.
Exactly.
From there, you move to a weekly list,
Mm,
pinpointing the specific tasks we'll focus on for that week.
right.
And finally, we break those tasks down into a daily list, which really outlines our day hour by hour.
I like it.
I like it too. And an important aspect of that daily list is to schedule tasks based on the type of energy and action required.
Right.
So we could group phone calls together or errands or computer-based work, right?
Exactly.
So when we have a pocket of free time, we can quickly assess, okay, what's the best use of my energy and resources right now?
Makes sense.
Okay, now let's talk about hot spots and not spots.
Oh, interesting concept.
So this idea stems from something called state dependency,
Okay.
which basically means that our physical location can influence our mental state. Martin recommends establishing designated hotspots for focused work and not spots for relaxation and disconnecting.
So, for example, we might train our minds to associate our home office with deep work and concentration, while our living room couch is for unwinding and recharging.
Makes sense. So we're really talking about leveraging our environment to enhance productivity.
Exactly. And this is especially relevant in today's world of hybrid work.
Right.
Martin offers strategies for optimizing our productivity in both our home and office environments.
It's almost like you have to be intentional about creating the right environment based on where you are
It
to
is.
support the type of work you're doing.
And it starts with understanding our personal work style. Are we home basers who thrive in a quiet, home setting?
Or are we outfielders who, need the buzz of an office to feel energized?
Exactly.
Once we figure that out, we can tailor our schedules and workspaces accordingly.
I like that. A home baser might dedicate their mornings to focused work at home
Uh-huh.
and then reserve their afternoons for meetings and collaboration in the office.
While an outfielder might flip that,
Yeah. Yeah.
schedule focused work at the office during quiet hours
Mm.
and use their time at home for maybe catching up on emails
Right, right.
or those lighter tasks.
It's all about figuring out what works best for you.
And speaking of efficiency, Martin offers some great tips for making meetings more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she calls them meaningful.
I like that.
She's a big proponent of starting with a clear purpose and intended outcome for every meeting. Like, what problem are we actually trying to solve here?
Right.
What decisions need to be made?
Right.
Because having those answers up front will help ensure our meetings stay focused and result in, tangible outcomes.
And it's also important to create a detailed agenda,
Right.
outlining topics to be discussed, how much time will allot up to each, and the desired result.
It's almost like a roadmap, right?
It is. It's a roadmap.
It helps us stay on track.
And we should always consider who actually needs to be at the meeting. Are all those invited parties truly necessary?
Sometimes it's just out of habit or obligation.
Right. Exactly. But keeping the guest list to the bare minimum ensures that everyone stays engaged and the meeting is as efficient as possible.
And it shows respect for everyone's time.
Absolutely. It shows that you value their time.
And that the meeting has, actual value.
Right. It's not just a box to check off.
Now, what about those urgent things that pop up and disrupt our carefully planned schedules?
Oh, the inevitable fire drills.
The fire drills.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, Martin has a solution for that, too.
Good.
She suggests setting aside a specific urgent time block each day to deal with these unexpected issues without derailing our planned work. It's like a buffer in our schedule to allow for flexibility without sacrificing our top priorities.
I like that.
Now, if urgent matters are a regular occurrence in your role,
Right.
she actually recommends incorporating them as one of your top 3 priorities.
Okay.
It might seem a little counterintuitive,
It does.
but it's about recognizing the realities of your work and planning accordingly. Accommodating those unpredictable demands without letting them completely overwhelm you.
It's like having that emergency exit
Right.
built into your schedule.
Exactly.
So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about procrastination.
Okay.
Martin has a really interesting perspective on this. She argues that procrastination often stems from a disconnect between the task at hand
Okay.
and our current energy levels. So, for example, we might be trying to force ourselves to work on a really complex project
Right.
when we're feeling completely drained.
Or we put off those simple tasks
Right.
because they seem mundane or uninspiring.
Her solution: align our tasks with those natural energy ebbs and flows.
I like it.
So if we're feeling really motivated and focused,
Mm-hmm.
tackle those challenging projects. If we're feeling a little sluggish,
Right.
focus on those simpler tasks or things that don't require as much mental effort.
It's about working with our natural rhythms instead of fighting against them.
Exactly.
And if you find yourself constantly procrastinating on a particular task, take a step back and ask yourself, is there an energy mismatch happening here?
Okay.
Maybe you need to break that task down into smaller chunks or delegate parts of it.
Right.
Or find a more engaging way to approach it.
I love her suggestion of scheduling a meeting to hold yourself accountable.
Oh, that's a great idea.
It's a clever way to leverage external pressure for motivation. So by setting up a meeting with someone to discuss the projects,
Right.
you create a sense of urgency
You do.
and commitment.
It's like having a personal cheerleader
Yeah.
rooting for your success.
Martin offers some really encouraging advice on embracing downtime and nurturing creativity, too.
She is a big believer in that.
She is. She reminds us that rest and relaxation are not indulgences.
Right.
They're necessities for restoring our energy and sparking those fresh ideas.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And she actually recommends having at least 1 hour of quiet awake time each day to just let our minds wander and make those creative connections.
Sometimes the most productive thing we can do is step away from our work
I agree.
and allow ourselves to just be.
And it's about finding activities that truly rejuvenate you. Spending time in nature, reading a good book, listening to music, engaging in hobbies.
Whatever brings you joy
Right.
and replenishes your energy. Those are the things that are worth prioritizing.
And these periods of downtime don't have to be long or elaborate. Even short breaks throughout the day, like a few minutes of meditation, a quick walk, enjoying a cup of tea can make a big difference.
I love her analogy. She compares downtime to pour-over coffee.
Oh, nice.
It takes a little longer,
It does.
but it produces a much richer, more flavorful experience.
Absolutely. It's about savoring the process.
And allowing those creative thoughts to brew.
Now let's talk about how we can transform our everyday tools into power tools.
So she encourages us to spend some time exploring the settings of our email, our calendar, all those apps we use,
Yeah.
to customize and optimize their functionality. It's amazing how many features we miss out on simply because we don't take the time to explore those settings.
It's true. We can set up filters to organize our inbox, create custom views in our calendar, master those keyboard shortcuts that save us countless hours in the long run.
It's about being in control of our technology
Right.
instead of letting it control us.
Martin also offers some great tips for combating distractions and staying focused.
So she emphasizes being mindful of our surroundings
Mm-hmm.
and establishing those designated hot spots for focused work
Right.
and not spots for relaxation and disconnecting.
By consistently reinforcing those associations, we can really leverage the power of our environment to boost our productivity.
And she provides some strategies for managing the unique challenges of hybrid work, too.
Right.
Whether we're those home basers who thrive in that quiet home setting
Uh-huh.
or those outfielders who, need the energy of an office.
It's about understanding what works best for you and creating a schedule and workspace that supports your individual needs.
So Martin kind of wraps up with some words of wisdom about achieving uptime in all areas of our lives.
And it's not about turning ourselves into these productivity machines.
No, it's not.
It's about designing a life
Yeah.
where we can achieve our goals while feeling energized, balanced, and fulfilled.
I love that sentiment. It's about working smarter,
It is.
not just harder.
Absolutely. And it's about making choices that are aligned with our priorities and values.
It's about embracing the power of small changes.
Right.
Even implementing one or two of these strategies that we've talked about can make a big difference in our overall productivity and well-being.
And Marty has a unique perspective on how we actually measure productivity.
Tell me more about that.
So she argues that the most accurate measure of productivity isn't necessarily our output or how many tasks we complete. It's about how we feel. Are we feeling energized? Are we on top of our work? Do we feel creative, present, balanced? If so, then we're in a state of uptime.
I like that. It's a reminder that productivity isn't just about external accomplishments.
It's not.
It's also about our internal state of being.
Absolutely.
So let's just pause and reflect on what we've discussed today. What are some key takeaways that really resonate with you?
For me, it's the emphasis on mindfulness
Okay.
and the recognition that downtime is just as important as focused work time.
It's finding that balance, right?
It is. It's finding that balance between effort and relaxation.
And making choices that support our overall well-being.
I also really appreciate the idea of viewing our time as an energy bank account
Yes.
and being intentional about how we spend those precious energy points.
It's about making conscious decisions
It is.
that are aligned with our priorities and values.
And remember that even small changes can make a big difference. Even implementing just one or two of the strategies we've talked about today can have a positive impact on your productivity and well-being.
Before we wrap up, I have a final thought for you to consider. What if you applied this concept of hotspots,
Okay.
not just to work, but to other areas of your life?
Interesting.
So could you designate a specific spot for your creative hobbies, or for connecting with loved ones, or for quiet reflection?
I like it.
It's an experiment, right?
It is.
And see how it impacts your overall well-being.
It emphasizes that uptime isn't just a work strategy,
Right.
but it's a philosophy for living a more intentional and fulfilling life.
Well said.
And on that note, we'll wrap up part 1 of our deep dive into uptime. Be sure to tune in for part 2, where we'll continue exploring Laura Mae Martin's wisdom.
And all those strategies for achieving peak productivity
We'll see you then.
and well-being.
Exactly. Welcome back to our exploration of uptime. In this segment, we're going to dig a little deeper into some of Laura Mae Martin's most insightful strategies for really mastering our time, our energy, and our focus.
I'm really curious about her advice on setting boundaries. It's something that so many of us struggle with,
It is.
especially in today's, always connected work environment.
Learning to politely decline requests that don't align with our goals or priorities is absolutely crucial for
Yes.
protecting our time and our energy.
How do we do that? How do we get better at saying no?
Well, Martin provides a lot of different tactics
Okay.
for saying no gracefully
Right. Yeah.
without, damaging relationships or jeopardizing opportunities.
Right, so you don't want to burn bridges.
Exactly.
So what are some of those tactics?
Well, one strategy she suggests is asking clarifying questions
Okay.
to fully understand the scope of a request before committing.
Makes sense.
So instead of just immediately saying yes,
Okay.
take a moment to gather more information. Another approach is to simply pause and reflect before giving an answer.
So you're not feeling pressured
Because
to respond right away.
you don't have to make a decision on the spot.
Okay.
And sometimes, the best approach is to offer alternative solutions.
Okay, so instead of saying no outright,
Right.
you're saying, well, how about this?
Exactly. Maybe suggest delegating the task to someone else or, offering some helpful resources instead.
So the key is to be assertive.
But also considerate
Right.
in how we communicate our boundaries.
I also love her suggestion about framing our boundaries in a positive light.
Oh, tell me more about that.
So instead of saying, I don't schedule meetings on Fridays, we could say, I'm available for meetings Monday through Thursday.
Ah, that's a great example.
Right.
It's a subtle shift in wording,
Yeah.
but it can really make a difference in how our message is perceived.
Because you're emphasizing
Right.
what you are available for.
It is. And it
Yes.
conveys a sense of, cooperation and willingness to engage
Right.
within those established limits.
I also love her idea of creating a how to work with me guide.
Oh, interesting. Tell me about that.
It's almost like a user manual
Okay.
that outlines our preferences
Uh-huh.
for
Yeah.
communication, collaboration, decision-making.
I like it.
Right.
It takes the guesswork out of working with us
Right.
and makes sure that everyone's on the same page from the start.
So it's a proactive approach to setting those clear expectations
It
and
is.
preventing any potential miscommunications down the road.
It's like offering a roadmap for smooth and productive interactions.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's move on to another topic that Martin excels at. Making meetings more
Meaningful.
meaningful. Exactly.
I love that term.
So she's a big advocate of starting every meeting with a very clear purpose,
Oh, yeah.
intended outcome.
Right.
So before you even schedule that meeting,
Yeah.
ask yourself,
Uh-huh.
what specific problem are we trying to solve here?
Makes sense.
What decisions need to be made?
Real-
Having those answers up front
Uh-huh.
will ensure that your meeting stays laser focused
Okay.
and actually produces tangible outcomes.
She also recommends crafting a really detailed agenda,
Uh-huh.
outlining the topics to be discussed, the time allotted for each, and the desired results.
It's like having a roadmap, right?
It is. It's like a roadmap for the meeting.
It keeps everyone on track and it avoids those frustrating tangents.
Yeah, the rabbit trails. And those can really derail a meeting.
And we should also be mindful of who we're inviting.
Okay.
Are all those people truly necessary?
Or are we just inviting them out of habit or obligation?
Right. So only invite those who are absolutely essential.
Right, because the more people you have at a meeting,
Yeah.
the less efficient it tends to be.
Exactly. Keep it small, keep it focused.
Okay, and how about managing those urgent things that always seem to pop up and disrupt our carefully planned schedules?
Oh, the fire drills of life.
The fire drills.
Right. Exactly.
Well, Martin has a brilliant solution for that.
She recommends dedicating a specific urgent time block each day
Uh-huh.
to deal with those unexpected issues
Yeah.
without completely throwing off our planned work.
So this is a buffer.
It is. It's a buffer in your schedule
Okay.
that allows for some flexibility
Yeah.
without having to sacrifice your top priorities.
Okay, so if those urgent matters are a regular occurrence in our role,
Right.
she actually recommends incorporating them as one of your top 3 priorities.
I see.
Now, that might seem a little counterintuitive.
It does.
Right.
But it's about acknowledging the reality of your work and
Right.
planning for it accordingly.
You're building that into your schedule.
Exactly.
So it's almost like you're acknowledging that that's going to happen.
It will.
Okay, so let's shift gears again and talk about procrastination.
Uh-huh.
Martin has a very interesting take on this.
Oh, I'm curious to hear it.
She argues that procrastination often comes from a disconnect between the task at hand and our current energy levels.
Okay, so we might be trying to force ourselves
Yeah.
to work on a really complex project when we're feeling drained
Exactly.
or putting off simple tasks because they just don't feel very exciting.
Exactly.
So her solution is all about aligning our tasks with our natural energy ebbs and flows.
Okay, I like that.
So if you're feeling super motivated and focused, tackle those challenging projects.
Yeah.
But if you're feeling a little sluggish,
Right.
maybe focus on those simpler tasks.
Right, things that require a little less mental energy.
Exactly.
It's about working with our natural rhythms
It is.
rather than against them.
Now, if you're finding yourself constantly procrastinating on a particular task,
Uh-huh.
it might be helpful to take a step back and ask yourself,
Okay.
is there an energy mismatch happening here?
Right, like maybe I'm trying to do this at the wrong time of day,
It could be.
or I need to break this task down into smaller pieces.
Exactly. Break it down, delegate parts of it, find a more engaging way to approach it.
I really love her suggestion about scheduling a meeting to hold yourself accountable.
Oh, that's a great tactic.
Right.
It's such a clever way to utilize that external pressure for motivation.
Uh-huh. So by setting up a meeting with someone to discuss a project,
Right.
you're kind of creating a sense of urgency and commitment.
It's like having that accountability partner built right into your schedule.
It's like having a personal cheerleader
It's
rooting for you.
Martin also has some wonderful advice about embracing downtime and nurturing creativity.
She's such a proponent of that.
She is. She reminds us that rest and relaxation are not indulgences.
Right.
They're necessities for restoring our energy and sparking new ideas.
Okay.
She even recommends having at least 1 hour of quiet, awake time each day to just let your mind wander and make those creative connections.
I feel like in today's society, that can be really hard to do.
It is.
But sometimes the most productive thing you can do is actually step away.
It is. It's about giving your mind that space to breathe and recharge.
And it's also about finding activities that truly rejuvenate you,
Right.
whether it's spending time in nature, reading, listening to music, engaging in a hobby.
Absolutely. Anything that brings you joy and fills up your energy tank.
Okay, so those are the things that we should really be prioritizing.
And remember, those periods of downtime don't have to be long or elaborate.
Okay.
Even short breaks throughout the day can make a difference.
Like a few minutes of meditation, a quick walk, or just enjoying a cup of tea.
Right.
Those little things can have a big impact on our focus and our well-being.
They do. Those small moments of self-care can really add up over time.
I love her analogy about downtime being like pour over coffee.
Oh, that's a good one.
It might take a little bit longer,
It does.
but you end up with a much richer, more flavorful experience.
It's about savoring the process and allowing those creative thoughts to percolate.
Okay, now let's talk about turning our everyday tools into power tools.
Let's do it.
Martin encourages us to dive into those settings
Yeah.
in our email, our calendar, all those apps we use to customize and optimize their functionality.
Right. There are so many hidden features and shortcuts.
We probably don't even know about.
Right. But taking the time to explore those settings can save us a ton of time and effort in the long run.
So we can set up filters, for example, to organize our inbox or create custom views in our calendar, master those keyboard shortcuts.
It's about taking control of our technology instead of letting it control us.
Okay, now what about combating distractions and staying focused?
Oh, the eternal struggle.
The eternal struggle. Any tips from Martin on that?
Well, she emphasizes the importance of being mindful of our surroundings and establishing designated hotspots for focused work.
Right, those areas where you go to get things done.
Exactly. And then not spots for relaxing and disconnecting.
So like if you're working from home,
Right.
your office is a hotspot
Right.
and your couch is a not spot.
Exactly. By consistently reinforcing those associations, we can really leverage the power of our environment to boost our productivity.
And she also gives some strategies for managing the unique challenges of hybrid work too.
Right.
Whether we're home basers who thrive in a quiet, home setting, or outfielders who need that office energy.
Exactly. It's about finding the right balance for you.
And creating a schedule and workspace that really supports your individual needs and preferences.
Martin really wraps up the book with some beautiful words of wisdom about achieving uptime in all areas of our lives.
So it's not just about work, right?
It's not. It's about designing a life where we can achieve our goals while also feeling energized, balanced, and content.
I love that. It's about working smarter, not harder.
And it's about making choices that are aligned with our values.
It's about embracing the power of small changes.
Right.
Even implementing one or two of these strategies can make a big difference in our overall productivity and well-being.
I agree. Small changes can lead to big results.
And she has this really unique perspective on how we actually measure productivity.
Tell me more.
She argues that the most accurate measure isn't our output or the number of tasks we complete.
Right.
It's actually how we feel.
Okay, so it's more about our internal state.
It is.
Yeah.
So are we feeling energized? Are we on top of our work? Do we feel creative, present, balanced?
That makes sense. If we're feeling all those things, then
Yeah.
we're truly in a state of uptime.
It's a reminder that productivity is not just about external accomplishments.
It's not.
It's about that inner state of being.
Absolutely.
And welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into uptime. We've covered a lot of ground, exploring strategies for managing our time, our energy, focus, and even our relationship with technology.
It's been such a rich conversation, packed with all these practical tips and insights. And I feel like we've just scratched the surface of all the wisdom that's in this book.
I'm really excited to dig into Martin's perspective on mindful mornings. She suggests that how we start our day can really set the tone for the entire day.
Oh, absolutely. If we wake up feeling rushed and stressed and overwhelmed, it's really tough to transition into, a productive and positive mindset. So, how does Martin propose we cultivate a more mindful morning routine?
Well, she recommends building in a U30 block each morning.
A U30.
Yeah, so this is a 30-minute sacred space dedicated to activities that nurture and energize you.
Okay. So that could be things like meditation, reading, exercise, journaling, anything that helps you feel grounded and centered, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Before you dive into all the demands of your day, it's about prioritizing your well-being and setting a positive tone for the hours ahead.
I love that.
And she has a cute idea about preparing a present for your future self, something you could do the night before
Oh, interesting.
to make your morning a little bit smoother and more enjoyable.
Uh-huh.
So that could be things like laying out your clothes, packing your lunch, setting the coffee timer. Those little acts of preparation can really make a difference in how you feel when you wake up.
It's like giving a little gift to your past self.
Exactly. Martin is also a big believer in the power of meditation.
Oh, me too.
She believes that even just a few minutes of meditation each morning can have a profound impact on our focus, mental clarity, and overall sense of well-being. It's about training our minds to be more present and less reactive to all the stressors that inevitably come up throughout the day.
It's like building a mental shield, right?
It is, to help us navigate those challenges with more grace and resilience. And meditation doesn't have to be this complicated or time-consuming practice. It can be as simple as finding a quiet spot, closing your eyes, and focusing on your breath for a few minutes. There are also tons of great guided meditations available through apps and online platforms if you need a little help getting started.
That's true. And speaking of getting started, Martin encourages us to incorporate mindfulness practices throughout our day, not just in the mornings.
Absolutely. So finding those little moments to pause, take a deep breath, and reconnect with yourself. It could be savoring that first sip of coffee, taking a mindful walk during your lunch break, or just noticing the sensations in your body as you move through your day.
Those little acts of awareness can really make a big difference,
They
right?
do. They help us stay grounded and prevent us from getting swept away by the busyness of our lives. And ultimately, that's what uptime is all about. It's about finding a sustainable rhythm that allows us to thrive, both personally and professionally. It's about making conscious choices that nourish our well-being and are aligned with our values.
It's about working smarter, not harder.
Exactly. And Martin has this interesting perspective on how we actually measure productivity.
I'm curious. Tell me more.
She argues that the true measure isn't the quantity of tasks we complete or the number of hours we work. It's actually about how we feel.
Okay, so it's more about our internal state of being.
It is. So are we feeling energized? Are we on top of our work? Do we feel creative, present, balanced? If so, then we're truly achieving uptime.
That's a really powerful reminder. Productivity isn't just about those external achievements. It's about our inner state of being, how we feel on the inside.
Exactly. Now, as promised, we're going to leave you with a quick 10-point summary of the key takeaways from Uptime to help you apply these strategies to your own life.
Okay, let's do it. Hit me with those 10 points.
Number 1, identify your top 3 priorities, both personal and professional.
Number 2, master the art of saying no, politely but firmly.
Number 3, utilize the list funnel system to organize your tasks effectively.
Number 4, harness those power hours. Schedule your high-impact tasks during those peak productivity times.
Number 5, embrace downtime as an essential part of creativity and mental clarity.
Number 6, create those hot spots and not spots to create those environmental cues for focus and relaxation.
Number 7, optimize your hybrid work setup. Tailor your schedule and workspace to your individual needs.
Number 8, make sure every meeting is meaningful by having a clear purpose, agenda, and intended outcome.
Number 9, Turn those everyday tools into power tools by customizing and optimizing their functionality.
And finally, number 10, start your day with a mindful morning routine to set a positive tone for the entire day.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights and practical tips from our deep dive into Uptime.
Remember, even small changes can make a big difference.
So start by implementing just one or two of these strategies and see how they impact your life. Until our next deep dive,
Happy diving!
we wish you a productive and fulfilling journey.